yesterday?
Well, at the end of every day, when we begin the Senate session, we have session, and then we typically, Monday and Tuesday, we recess and we go into caucus. And then we come back into session, session is resumed, and we come back into session. We typically vote on bills, and then there's a resolution public comment period. And so what really started earlier in the week, one Monday, one of the senators from the other side of the aisle, one of the Democratic senators, got up and started making statements about how Governor Corbett has, destroyed education in the state of Pennsylvania, and he slashed $1 billion from the education budget. And I've been hearing this for since the beginning of the year. And so when I took office on April 2nd, I wrote a letter to all the school districts and asked all the school districts for 5 years of, and these are the school districts in my district, I asked them for 5 years of their tax revenue, property taxes, their delinquent taxes, and 511 taxes, and then I asked them for 5 years of history on the state funding that they received. And then I asked them for their fund balances, and I asked them for 5 years of salary history. Okay. Now, this information that I was asking for is something that should be readily available, but a lot of the school districts are very uncomfortable with me asking for this information. So, one of the school districts of my 10 in my district, and I will not name them at this time, but in the last, over a 4-year period, they received 22% more. They received over $3 million.
State funding?
Excuse me?
22% more state funding?
22% more state funding. They went from $13.5 million in 9-10 up to this year, and it's actually maybe 5 years. They went from $13.5 million to $16.5 million. That's 22% increase. Okay, so I've been hearing this as the primary. All the Democrats are running. In the primary, somebody's not telling the truth, and so I figured I was going to find out who's not telling the truth. Well, it's very clear that all the school districts in my district have received more state funding. But where's all the money going to? The money is all going to either pensions, or it's going to salary increases or benefit increases. It's not going in a lot of other places. Like there's all kinds of, there's basic education, and really basic education for the school district that I'm talking about, over a 5-year period, it went up $1 million. So they were 5.7, they went to 6.7. So somebody's not telling the truth here. So 2 years ago, I was involved in a school board race in York Suburban. And the candidates and I obtained 5 years of salary history in York Suburban. This is my home district, from 2010, 2011, back 5 years. The blended increases of all the teachers in York Suburban School District, 5.67% per year. Okay? Now, I just asked someone to email me the CPI. This is from the Bureau of Labor and Statistics. This is what Lancaster used. This is the Mid-Atlantic region CPI announcement. Philly, Wilmington, Atlantic City region. And this is the closest rate region in the central PA market. 2006, 3.3%. 2007, 3.5%. Here's one that's really going to kill you. In 2008, it was negative 0.4%. Okay, or 0.04. It was a 0.5%. So there was no upward tick. 2009, 3%. 2010, 1.4. 2011, 2.8. 2012, 1.8. 2013, 1.2. So what I'm really getting tired of is I really take my job very, very seriously, more seriously than probably anyone ever has from this district. I travel with this box every single day. I have files on pension reform, school. This is I'm gathering tons of information. And so I'm asking a lot of questions, and people don't like the questions. But now I hear my comrades across the aisle, making statements that the governor has slashed, the budget by $1 billion. It's simply not true. They're not telling the truth, and I'm being diplomatic when I say that. It's not accurate. I have the facts, and the facts that I have were facts that were supplied to me by the school districts in my district. Okay. Now, tell me if you think it's fair. There is a huge iceberg under the water. And this huge iceberg is pension reform, school tax reform, and at the very tip of the iceberg, the tip that we see is paycheck protection. Okay? So the issue, and so I got up one Monday and, I basically challenged their statements. And, I'm finding that it's a pretty fun place that you can exchange, different comments and ideas. So we started talking about paycheck protection. I made a statement on Monday. And if you read the handout, a lot of people are very confused about what paycheck protection really is. Okay? And paycheck protection is a choice that a worker would have in the state of Pennsylvania if they belong to a public or private union. But if you look at the top number up here, the union dues, Pennsylvania's 5 largest non-safety government unions, this doesn't include police, fire, receive more than $163 million in union dues and fees, and these were mostly were collected through automatic payroll deduction. So it's almost like it's taken out every week, and employees don't have a lot of choice, and paycheck protection will give them the choice. And the unions are the PSEA, which is the largest, Pennsylvania State Education Association, ASME, SEIU, UFCW, and the PFT. So, and if you go down, they spend a lot of money on political activities. And here's the voice from March. Okay, it's pages of trashing our governor. It's pages of endorsing Rob McCord. If this is a political piece, then you know what? Then I was born on another planet. Okay, that we have a copy for everyone. Here is May. May is, here we go. Rob McCord, you had enough of Corbett. And you know what? I went to Harrisburg because I think Harrisburg is broken and it needs to be reformed. And there was the issue of the portraits hanging on the hallway, and I threw that little bone to the York Daily Record, and they ran with it and said that I had better things to do. Well, I'll tell you, from the minute I walked into Harrisburg, I had been working paycheck protection 24/7. I've probably met with between 60 and 80 parties, whether they're interested parties that want to, employers, organizations that want to see paycheck protection passed. I've met with union officials. I've met with other House members and other senators. So the portrait thing was a little bit of a smoke bomb, but this is all I'm spending my time on. And I'm going to, I want to be crystal.
You mean paycheck protection specifically, or union reforms?
Paycheck protection. Listen. Here's the issue with workers should have a choice. And now I just gave you an article from the Wisconsin Union Mutiny. And this is the whole issue. If the workers in Pennsylvania are given a choice, as demonstrated by Wisconsin, and this is from 2013, it said under Governor Walker's 2011 union reform law, the majority of union members have to vote each year to recertify union as their representative. And it goes on and on and on. But it says that broader data also shows union membership has been faltering across the state. Government union employees membership went from 50% to 37%, and it's continuing to drop. Okay? Now, I want to be clear on this, that I am focused on the public sector unions. I'm not focused on the trade unions. I'm not focused on the steel workers, the IB. I'm focused on the public sector unions in Harrisburg, and I've listed there, the 5 are here. If you work for the IBEW, there was an article in the Philly paper recently talked about that the IBEW gave, I think, 25 or 28 million in political contributions since 2000. Big article, but as I understand, the IBEW sends their members a bill, and their members send a check. It's the only reason. And then, if they're a member in good standing, their name is on a roster, and if someone needs 400 electricians, and you're a member in good standing, you go to work. But if you're not a member in good standing, you don't go to work. So, the bottom line is, if unions are so good for their employees, okay, and as I look at it, the employees that the union is serving are their customers. If your customer is happy, you should be able to send your customer a bill, and they will send you a check. But let me be crystal clear on this issue. I got elected by almost 11,000 write-in votes in March, and the big issue was school tax reform. And in order to get school tax reform, elimination of school taxes, and finding another funding mechanism, we have to deal with the pensions, okay? I mean, they tie together. Trust me when I tell you this, if we do not pass paycheck protection, the people in my district need to understand, there is no school tax reform, period, okay? There is no pension reform, period, because these unions are going to be in fighting and lobbying hard for no school tax elimination or pension reform. So
it sounds like you're saying that you're thinking that when you pass paycheck protection, that there would be a significant number of union members who stopped paying their dues, and that would put a dent into some of the money that they had to, the unions had to fight against property tax reform, and
one could conclude that.
Is that what your conclusion is?
Well, my conclusion is that they are deathly afraid that their members aren't going to pay dues. But if you're serving I've talked to a lot of teachers, and I have been told, and sort of on my own survey, I've asked teachers, if you had an option not to belong to the union or not pay dues, would you continue or would you not continue? 50% said they don't want to be part of a union. They want to teach. They want to be teachers. But and I've been told it may be as high as 70%.
Would you say you misspoke, though, yesterday? I mean, some of the union members I talked with today, they said they were personally affronted by the comparison to Hitler, who killed millions of Jews and Russia, I mean.
My comments yesterday were my comments, and the issue of check card still remains. And now they have a smoke bomb to try to, listen, we all need to keep our eye on the ball on paycheck protection. And now this is their tactic to, now Wagner's crazy and he's going to do, and we can get everybody away from paycheck protection. My comment was the comment yesterday. My comment was about control and power. I never said, I have many Jewish friends. I think what happened with the Holocaust and everything is an absolute tragedy. But as we go back through history, there are 12 to 18 dictators about control and power. This is about control and power. So, I mean, my statement was my statement.
Do you regret it?
Um,
I just talked to a union member. He says, that'd be like my daughter watching someone accusing me of being Hitler and killing all, he says, I have children too.
the union members should grow up, okay? Seriously. And if you want to put that on air, the union members should grow up. Because here's the bottom line. I have a career. I do not need this job, okay? Read into it what you want. I was elected to go to Harrisburg to do a job. I'm not a career politician. If my constituents in my district don't like what I'm doing and they don't appreciate me, then you know what? Vote me out of office in November. Because I have another career. And for me, I'm the first person, I think, absolutely to be elected from your county to be in that position. I have a career. I can go back to Penn Waste tomorrow. I have a job. I have lots to do. I'm working earlier in the morning. I'm working later in the evening. I'm working Saturdays and Sundays to be able to do this because I think this is the right thing. This isn't helping my company in any way. This isn't making me richer or whatever. I'm doing this because it's right. So the union member, for him to say to that, he needs to understand, if he understood history, he should get a book on history about power and control. seriously. They need to grow up, and let's focus on this issue.
But you did give them an easy toss to another venue when you could stay on target and stay on message. And maybe that's because you're new?
No, it's because I don't need the job. And I'm not a polished politician, and I don't need the career. You can read into it whatever you want to read into it. I am my own person, and I'm going to Harrisburg to do a job. I'm not going to Harrisburg where people are putting their arms around me saying, Scott, we want to welcome you up here, we want you to vote this way. I am my own person. Am I a polished politician? Do I sometimes say things that I shouldn't? I probably should. But you know what, I'm 58 years old, I've been in business for a long time, but at the end of the day, I'm taking this job very, very seriously. And for me to tell you that I'm taking it seriously, and for me to tell you, listen, I have a career. I'm a successful guy. And trust me, for all the effort, what I'm doing in Harrisburg, I'm doing it for the right reason. I didn't serve in the military. I am bothered by all the veterans. What about the 1 in 5 veterans who are homeless on the street? But let's stay focused on this. I'm doing this because it's the right thing. And let's quit playing these games and trying to deviate focus. And that's what the teachers, listen, the Teachers Association has been asked to talk about this. They won't return phone calls. But they sure want to talk about maybe what I said.
You called it a smoke bomb. Are you worried that it hurts the chances of getting action on it? Your comments that it'll hurt the distraction from trying to get this passed in June?
No, listen, no. We're going to stay, listen, I learned a long time ago, you keep your eye on the ball. We're going to keep our eye, I am going to keep my eye on this Paycheck Protection Ball. They are scared. This is huge. Just think if they lost $50 million. Let's say they didn't collect 163 next year and they collected 113. That's a $50 million loss. It's about, we talk about, my comment yesterday was about power and control. I have a statement here somewhere, but it's about power and control. There's a huge amount of power and control in Harrisburg with a few people. The power and control isn't the teacher in the classroom or, at the lower level people, it's on the upper level. And, we could get into a long conversation about, some of the issues I think are wrong in school districts. But, I'm asking a lot of questions. People never asked questions before. And some of the school districts made me file right-to-know requests. I sent my information on Senate stationery. I had to file right-to-know requests. They're real nervous about this stuff getting out. And I'll tell you that if the average person on the street that struggled knew how much teachers were really making, okay, they're not doing bad. Plus they're getting health insurance, they work 180 days a year, and I have a tremendous amount of respect for what they do. And so, the teachers union right now the Teachers Association is the big fish out there.
So you say you came here to do a job and you don't, you're not going to do the political, smooth everyone's, comfort zone. You're saying, I'm going to stay focused. Is that what I'm hearing you say?
And you said you don't regret having drawn that particular illustration.
No, let me back up. I do not regret what I said because you have to listen to what I said. It's about power and control. If we look about history, listen, I could stand there for 15 minutes. Let's talk about Muammar Gaddafi. Let's talk about Saddam Hussein. Let's talk about Victor Chavez. Stalin. Let's talk about, who was the other guy? There was the guy in Africa. There were a lot of their dictators around the world, and when you have power and control with a few people, it is not good. It's not good. So, at the end of the day, I didn't make my comments to offend anyone. I'm explaining about power and control, and what is going on in Harrisburg with the public sector unions is power and control. And if you go back and you look, I can tell you that 2/3, guaranteed 2/3 of the Senate and House members have received money from these unions or one of these unions. It's not right.
So would you?
Trust me, I don't think I'm going to be getting union money. So
yeah, well, and
and
that
I'll send the
actually.
check.
But that probably would have happened anyway.
Yeah.
My next question. I mean, if you, what I hear you saying is that the unions are standing in the way of key reforms that you want to pass. So if you could just eliminate unions, I mean, is that something that you would do? Are you looking to? I mean.
That's a great question. Absolutely not. Unions, this is not about getting rid of unions. Unions have a place. But And this is a completely separate issue. The IBEW is a union that represents electrical workers. Do I agree with, their philosophies and whatever? No, I don't really, probably, not all the time, but what I do know is that there are times that there are large numbers of electricians, carpenters, and whatever needed, and they have a system. And, I will tell you that I think the unions have driven up cost, but they'll survive. And listen, if their members, who are their customers, are happy, they should be able to send them a bill, and they'll send them a check. It's like, it's, if you're happy, if you want to go in and you want to buy something, buy a service, you pay for it, you get a service in return. But that's not,
The biggest argument about paycheck, the issue is that the money is taken on they have to do it.
correct.
And then the money is used for political purpose.
Well, here it is. I mean, this is as blatant as it can get. And for anybody to say it's not, it's blatant. And, I've been in the Senate, we were talking about ethics. Ethics, I don't take I haven't, in all my years in business, I don't take customers out to lunch. I don't take customers out to dinner. I don't play all my stock because I'm so bad. But, listen, I have a professional relationship with people that I work with. And I could go to Harrisburg and I could have dinner. I could drink lots of liquor. I could smoke cigars. I could do this. I could go to 4 events a night, 4 nights a week in Harrisburg. Listen, I've been making decisions for 35 years. I don't need somebody coming in and trying to convince me. Someone who's been a lobbyist for 40 years, has never made a paycheck, coming in and telling me that I should consider this or that. I was told yesterday that there are close to 2,000 registered lobbyists in Harrisburg. I mean, it's amazing. I mean, someday maybe I'll write a book about it. But at the end of the day, we have a huge system and we need to bring it in. The system is not serving the people of Pennsylvania. But let's circle back again. I got elected in a special election, which was unprecedented, by almost 11,000 people who wrote my name in. I will tell you that probably a large portion of the people who wrote me in were people who were over 50. There's probably a large percentage of people who were over 65. I mean, it was amazing the number of people over 65 that came to the polls and wrote my name in because they're choking on property taxes. When I hear stories of a couple that it takes them 2 months of their Social Security check to pay their school and property taxes, it's a tragedy. And they've worked, what have they done all their lives? They've worked hard, they've paid their bills, they've raised their children, the whole 9 yards. They have money in the bank, and the money that's in the bank is getting 1.25%. It's not right.
So you feel like to do something about property taxes, you have to first do something about paycheck?
Paycheck protection is the tip of the iceberg. If I could just pound one thing on the table, we will not see school tax elimination or reform. We will not see pension reform. And you have to understand, pension reform has to happen before the school tax reform.
I don't understand why you think the paycheck thing has to happen. There's other issues in pension reform. Why does that have to come before pension reform?
Because of the union influence and the ability for them to lobby and politic. And nothing has been done for 10 years, 12 years, 15 years because of the influence of the unions.
And if they can't automatically take out the dues, then they will have less money because fewer union members will pay their dues.
Well, let's level the
Is
playing
that, I
field.
want to make sure I'm not
Yes.
mischaracterizing what you're saying.
Yeah, let's level the
Okay.
playing field.
Okay.
And are you willing to hold out support of a final budget to see action on this in June? I mean, is this going to be that important to you, or how important?
Well, Ed, that's a good question. Number one, we can't pass a budget, a real accurate budget, without pension reform, school taxes, and some other things. And the other thing is, it's the principle. We live in the greatest country in the world. This is about choice. Someone who is a teacher should have a choice whether they want to pay dues or not. And they may say, well, the Teachers Association, well, maybe they don't have to pay dues, or they don't, a certain person doesn't, have to get paid. Listen, the bottom line is, if you are a member of the union and you don't pay dues, you're not a friend of the union. And I'm familiar over in New Jersey where there's been intimidation by teachers that don't want to be part of the union. And there's Solidarity Day for teachers. At the end of the day, all this stuff needs to be out of the schools, and let's focus on the children. I mean, that's what everybody keeps talking about. It's all about the kids. This is not about the kids. Right now, the system that we have in place in the it's about the teachers, it's about pensions, and it's making more money. And the more money these teachers make, and salaries and whatever, the more dues come out.
So you would say that, so you still think Hitler and Putin were a good comparison, or?
It's well, let's put Muammar Gaddafi in there. Let's put in let's put in Stalin. It's power in control. Hitler had a lot of power, one man. Putin, one man who has a lot of power. Chavez, a lot of power. We don't need this. There's a lot of power. There's concentrated power in the unions in Harrisburg.
I guess the unions said they have hundreds or thousands of members voting on these contracts that they're not one person. I guess why do you think that's a one person dictator is an appropriate comparison?
What's that?
I mean, the unions are made up of many people, not just one person. I guess why do you?
Well, if you want to dig deeper, let's talk about something. There's a deeper issue. There's a school board or school district out in Beaver Falls, Pennsylvania. Last year, the teacher union members in Pennsylvania's Black Hawk School District agreed to an early bird contract with the school board last September. So last September, there was an early bird contract that was approved by the current school board. And in the November election, 4 of the members were kicked off the board and 4 new members came on the board. In February, and 3 months later, in mid-February, the new school board did something unexpected. It voted 6-2 to revoke the union's early bird contract. Well, I talked to the school board president yesterday. The president of the union was the president of the school board was a former teacher. His daughter teaches in the school district, okay? And it appeared that it was a 2% per year increase. Well, it really is 18% over a multi-year period. And we, in my home school district, there's a teacher who's a teacher in another school district who on the board. The school districts are contaminated with conflict of interest situations. It's everywhere. We have teachers who have gone to become superintendents. They were former union members. There are husbands of teachers on school boards voting on union contracts. Do you think that's a problem? I think it's a problem. I mean, everybody's talking about ethics today. And so, yeah, it's a whole contaminated system. But there's a good read out there. There's a book called Shadow Bosses. Pick the book up. Just read the introduction section. If you got my email this week, I basically took the whole introduction section. The unions, the public sector unions have a grip on the politicians. And the beauty about me is, listen, I would like to get reelected because I think I'm going to do a good job. And I think for 4 years, I'm going to go to Harrisburg and I'm going to do the right thing for the people of the district. I don't need the job. So I'm not going to be influenced because I have to get reelected. And that is most of the elected officials in Harrisburg right now. It's about reelection.
So you'll be ruffling some more feathers?
I am not going away. I'm going there to do a job. Pure and simple. And
Would you choose your words better, though? I sound like a
I'm
mom.
I'm working.
Yeah.
Listen, I want to reiterate, I'm not a career politician. I'm not polished. I'm a little rough around the edges.
But if you offended someone in this comment?
If I offended someone, then I'm sorry I offended them, but I'm not going to retract my words. Okay? Because the bottom line is, you have to understand what I was talking about. I didn't say that the teachers union, is this person or that person. It's about power and control. And if you look, and in the schools, the very schools, there are wonderful history teachers that talk about world history. And we as a nation right now are witnessing firsthand, because of media, Twitter, internet and everything, we're witnessing power and control around the world and what it's doing to people. And we're slowly moving in that direction. So, I think we have to give people a choice. And I don't think it's unrealistic. I mean, I want to get up in the morning. Listen, Everybody wants choices. It's gun control, it's abortion, it's gay marriage, it's like, should be choices.